Duty World War II is doing a lot of work to try and keep the game fresh and bring new ideas and things like that, along with keeping the old feel of what the boots on the ground classic Call of Duty feels like to every player that has experienced it before at some point in time. And while there are some things that are completely brand new and perhaps in terms of gameplay mechanics, rather new and different, in this video I want to take a look at what I think are the 5 greatest extra features in Call of Duty World War II. Some things being bigger than others, some things being some things that you might not notice at first glance and really just have to pay attention to try and pick up on. So these things are going to range from small to big, and some things may have more significance than others, but I think that these are 5 awesome features that were added by Sledgehammer for Call of Duty World War II that I think you guys definitely need to know about. First thing, let's start off with one that is rather small, but is something that is one of those aesthetic details that whenever you finally notice it, I think that it's absolutely awesome, the attention to detail and how the mechanics work and all that sorts of things like that. This dealing directly with headshots in Call of Duty World War II's multiplayer. This is something that if you ever previously got a headshot in Call of Duty, it was just a standard kill. It would make the ping or something like that that gave the indication that you had a headshot, but this is completely different now within World War II. This first extra feature is a helmet pop-off effect. If you end up getting a headshot, you'll end up seeing that the enemy player has their helmet pop off, or in the same case on the opposite side of the coin, if you end up getting killed by a headshot, whenever your character ragdolls, you'll end up seeing your helmet pop off. So once again, while this isn't something major, I think it's an awesome little feature that adds the attention to detail and showcases that detail that Sledgehammer put into the multiplayer mechanics of Call of Duty World War II. I think this definitely is something that is cool. Once again, doesn't take away from the gameplay itself, but is one of those things that once you notice it, you're like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. But number 2 up on this list ends up dealing once again with the inspect weapon animation. This is something that is, again, an extra feature, something that does not change the gameplay itself, but it's something that in Modern Warfare Remastered, when it was added to Call of Duty, taking a little bit of a page from maybe CSGO or some other game similar, this was an animation that a lot of people loved. Definitely checking out camos in Modern Warfare Remastered was an awesome thing to see, and it was one of those things that, though it was not in a primary game, Modern Warfare Remastered, though for a lot of people was the primary game, it was technically not branded as the primary game, as a secondary additional feature within the Call of Duty world this past year. But with it now being in World War II, it is something that I think is awesome because this now takes a main stage to the Call of Duty world and is something that moving forward with all these camos, all these different cool things that we might be seeing for weapons, it's just nice to see that in a little bit more clarity and take a look at that in a little more in depth. Now the third thing up on this list actually is something that kind of changes a little bit of the gameplay mechanics, but not necessarily, and it's only for snipers. More specifically, on the Mountain Division, it is the sharpshooter skill for that, in which it deals with snipers directly, where it blocks out surroundings and in return will allow players to get aim assist and enemy names while aiming down sight, but it's activated when holding your breath. So simply put, if you aim down at sight in a sniper scope in a Call of Duty World War II, you'll be able to see the peripherals and all that kind of stuff that you could with a dual render system within the past couple of Call of Duties and snipers. That's something that sticks there, but whenever you start to hold your stick down to hold your breath and steady your aim, this is then when the peripherals black out and it goes to the former sniper scope where what's seen is only available down the scope. That's something that I think is really cool. It's a nice little transition here, or compromise between the two systems, and I think that it just works out incredibly well in the fashion that it is implemented within Call of Duty World War II, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this further on. I didn't get too much time to play around with this because we had very limited access at the E3 capture event, but still, it was something super cool, I think, here to take away from it. And additionally, I almost forgot, whenever you end up doing this as well, whenever you scope in, hold your breath, and it starts to go a little bit more focused like that, it then starts to drown out any background noise as well. It brings those levels down to almost to a sort of in the zone type of feeling too. So that was a cool feature as well that was added in on top of this. But number 4 up on this list deals with something that is returning from not only Modern Warfare Remastered, but also Advanced Warfare all the way back with Sledgehammer's last title, that being the firing range. This is something that does not change the core mechanics or anything like that about the gameplay, but it can allow you to test out some of your classes before you start into a match and anything like that, and it's going to presumably be a larger part of the headquarters feature as well. We saw some footage in the presentation leading up to the multiplayer capture event in which it showcased that there were multiple people in here, that this was something that was a part of that social feature, but the firing range itself is back, reskinned now for World War II, almost as if in a trench of itself in a little bit of a valley within the headquarters system, but it's something that you can test out every single weapon that you end up coming in contact with. You can play around with your grenades, your attachments, all that good stuff, and it gives you just, once again, that little bit of experience before actually jumping into the game, and it's a feature that I'm glad is returning, and it's a nice little extra feature here on top of the core gameplay. Now, the fifth and final thing that I think is an awesome extra feature, one of the greatest that we saw, at least from the E3 footage that we ended up getting, this was the play of the game feature. Now, this is something that, of course, you can maybe derive changes the gameplay itself, but it is how the final kill cam works. Previously, we'd end up getting either just the final kill of the game or the final kill of the round showcased to everybody in the lobby, but now it's a little bit different because whenever you end up doing this play of the game feature, not only does it take away the final kill of the game or the round, it then replaces it with perhaps the best play of the game. So whereas somebody could have gotten maybe a double kill for the final kill, if somebody had, say, a quad feed at any point in time during the game, that would be showcased rather than the double kill at the very end. Something that was deemed a little bit more important of a play than that of a standard final kill cam. Now, how that actually works, we have no idea. We have only the very early beginnings of the knowledge and understanding of how this system works, but for the most part, it's clear, cut, and dry that it's not just simply the final kill of the round or the game in Call of Duty World War II, which I'm okay with. I think it's a cool little feature to add in and change up the current pace that we've had Call of Duty for absolute ages now. So that's going to conclude, though, my 5 greatest extra features in Call of Duty World War II. If you guys have any ones that you have noticed throughout any gameplay that's been out there, or if you guys were even at E3 and played it for yourselves and noticed anything, feel free to drop your favorites down there in the comment section down below. But once again, that's going to conclude my list of the 5 greatest extra features in Call of Duty World War II. So that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys did, make sure to drop a like down below. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with everything we have here regarding Call of Duty World War II, Zombies Chronicles, zombies in general, Black Ops 3 multiplayer, Modern Warfare Remastered, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get content outside of YouTube. I practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But all that said and out of the way, thanks so much for watching, dudes. Hopefully you guys had a fantastic day. Mine's been Nikolai Espresso. Take care, and peace.